man's worth something. And since part of our objective is to continue, you know, to also sort of set up an example for other people who've got very good orchard ground in places which are now very difficult to make a living growing apples. But there's another way to do it if you really attend to what you grow. And of the several hundred varieties we were trying there, and we continue to, I mean, you know, shoot, the magic wand is right here, man. That's, you know, that's a grafting knife, and that's the way we do it all. But we continue to experiment with varieties, but we've selected. This is Perry, by the way, so don't spew immediately, okay? And I'll tell you that. We've selected a dozen or so cider varieties and a dozen or so heirloom varieties, kind of old varieties that are very good for eating and cooking and whatever, and some of which make good cider, that we can really grow to a high standard. And it is from that we make all this stuff. So that's what we do. And it took me, I've been having grown apples since I was a kid, it took me a good decade to even figure out how to grow some of these weird varieties. It took easily a decade more to learn how to make cider. Nicole's been working for us for a really long time. You know, she and I make the cider. I do I grow the apples with a crew, and I decide what gets pressed and what gets fermented. Nicole is just brilliant at blending stuff. And we've been tasting together for over a decade. We've got reams of tasting notes, and we make our cider the way we bloody want to. Jimmy!
Steve, quick question. Is it true, do you have a wider variety of cider trees and varieties than anyone in America?
I don't know. I'll tell you, okay, here's something that's wicked encouraging. We've been giving away budwood, grafting wood, right, for years. We just give it to people. And we've been trying to get commercial growers to start growing this, professional growers to grow some of this stuff. We've given it to backyard enthusiasts and various others, and some growers will take a couple hundred buds. 3 years ago, I think I probably gave away 500 buds. Last year, I probably gave away 3,000 buds, and this year I gave away over 50,000 buds. So people are actually planting this stuff, and the quality of cider is going to start to rise, in our view at least. It's going to take quite a few years, but and there are, we ship. I mean, these guys at Virtue, we ship them bittersweet juice. Some of the apples that we've given budwood for are being planted in Michigan. They're not going to have to buy this stuff from us forever. The whole notion of regional identities to ciders, I mean, there are all kinds of people here all week, people talking about their regional identity to their ciders. It's bunk unless they're basing it on the fruit. It's not a regional identity, it's how the cider maker wants to make his cider. Regional identities, as with wine, will only start to emerge when people start growing fruit for the purpose in different places, and the cider start to look like that. And that is happening now. So anyway, Perry. We grow some Perry pears. I was a little indifferent about, or what? Not indifferent. It's just when we started doing all this stuff, pears kind of fell off the side of kind of fell out of my mind. But we grafted a bunch of Perry pears in 1993, I guess. And these trees got huge. And a few years ago, we started suddenly noticing we had enough Perry pears to actually make a few barrels of Perry. So we started doing that, trying it, and as a result, this one and its predecessor, we've gotten interested in Perry, and so I'm bloody planting Perry pears now, which take 12 or 15 years to come into bearing. So I'll be talking toothless to you and trying to remember my name by the time we're making good Perry. But this stuff, I don't think this Perry is as good Perry as our cider is cider. Nicole and I, of our cider and I of the growing, we don't think we're experts. It's taken a really long time to get any damn good at this at all. We don't think we're going to live long enough to really get good to our own satisfaction. So the Perry's even trickier because we haven't been making it for very long. But it is based on some extremely tannic, really just the most astringent thing. You
used to play jokes on people. We're like, here, try this pear.
Yeah, have a pear. Would you like to try a pear? They hurt. They really hurt. And once you've had one in your mouth, you can't taste anything for about 10 hours. But and the juice is weirdly, it's tannic and it's got a lot of structure to it, but the juice itself is a little bit delicious. This is just a barrel fermented. We did the same thing we do with our cider. you know, we couldn't be very selective of the varieties, but we didn't use dessert pears. I'm not crazy about most of the berries I tasted from dessert pears. These things have more structure. So this thing, I mean, we brought this for your amusement. It's absolutely still. It's is this the one we put a little tiny bit of Wixton into? Yeah. So we wanted a little more acid. So there's one beautiful little acidic apple. When we put this into barrels to mature, we put a little tiny bit of Wixton. And you know, sorry, the labels. We're not going to sell any more Perry that says cider on the front. It just says Perry on the back. But we got a few barrels this year, a couple barrels this year, and you know, we got a couple barrels from last year that we haven't bottled yet. You know, we're just going to keep fooling around with it. I think we'll get better at this, but it's kind of cool. It's got, I mean, Nicole, talk about what it smells and tastes like. Why don't you do that? This is Nicole, who's I'm not sure who's right-hand man here, but we work together on this stuff.
So the main difference for me between Perry and ciders in general is that this is really delicate. It's a lot more wine-like than many ciders are in general. It's got those really light florals in the nose, just the same as cider doesn't necessarily smell or taste like apples the same way wine doesn't necessarily smell or taste like grapes. Perry doesn't necessarily smell or taste like pears, although there's a teeny bit in there. Pear blossoms are not the loveliest thing to smell, so it doesn't actually smell like that, but there's not, you know, this doesn't smell like a pear candy or anything. Now that can come through on some Perrys, and it's often natural. It's just the ones that we're using they're not doing that.
I think